Good morning, everyone. Lots going on, and we're going to start talking about Marwan Tabbara. But first, I want to tell you a story. I went to a meeting, a town hall, basically, where the MP in my area, and his name's Lloyd Longfield, held a town hall. This is before the 2019 election, even before I became the PPC candidate. I just went because I wanted to hear what the Liberals, how they could defend their record. I was so upset about it. And so I went to listen, and Lloyd said, and I have this on, like, I recorded the meeting because I like to record meetings and then I listen to them again just to, because you miss things, right? So anyway, I do that. And Lloyd said very clearly that they had accomplished X, but if they had told us we were going to do X, we wouldn't have wanted to do that anyway. And I can't. It was a little while ago. I can't exactly remember what it was, but I remember thinking, like, that's a bombshell. Like, the act of admitting that they didn't have the support to do what they did, and then saying, but look at what that resulted in. Look at the positive things that resulted in. He was talking about jobs numbers. We did X, and it resulted in this many jobs, and we wouldn't have been able to do that. But so they pushed it through, and they understood that they didn't have the majority, but they used what they could, and they got it through by other means. And here's an email from Marwan doing exactly the same thing, and talking about them doing exactly the same thing in the gun ban situation. Here's the email. The subject is dissatisfied. He says, this is written by Marwan. Thank you for your email, Natasha. We and I ran on this course of conduct. During the election, I went door to door and listened to what people had to say. I know there will be people unhappy with this decision, but Canadians have formed a consensus that weapons intended for military use should not be accessible to Canadians except for military purposes. We can't get the necessary unanimous consent for introduction of a bill on the subject, and this has waited too long for action. Okay, in the paragraph just before, he says, I know that there are some who would be unhappy, but Canadians have formed a consensus that weapons intended for military use should be not accessible. If they had formed a consensus, you would think that a bill getting through the House of Commons would be simple. A simple act of bringing that bill and saying, Canadians agree, let's pass this bill. And if Canadians didn't agree, then they would not pass the bill. But claiming that Canadians agree while simultaneously admitting that you don't have the votes in the House of Commons, so you did it a different way? That admits that you knew that it wasn't popular, you knew that it was not what Canadians wanted, yet your rhetoric says, oh, it's what Canadians want. I just think it's I think it's classic liberal. And even with the man facing charges, right? Like classic liberal. What was his name? Raj Grewal, right? Raj Grewal, did he get charged, or was it just like whispers of money laundering? I wasn't sure if he got charged. There were certainly things that he had to explain himself to his constituency. He was suspected of having improper fundraisers and some of that. So anyway, interesting stuff. The bridge as well for Mr. Grewal. Anyway, very, very classic liberals, right? So we've got more information on what happened with Marwan Tabbara, and this is the National Post, published June 8th. Today is June 9th. Ontario MP allegedly watched home for 3 months before arrest. There for assault, break and enter, harassment. Okay, so Ontario Member of Parliament Marwan Tabbara allegedly spent so much time over the 3 months watching a home in a nearby riding, he made the occupant fear for her safety, according to a police document describing the serious criminal charges he is facing. The watching started January 1st and ended April 9th, the day Tabbara was arrested by police in Guelph, Ontario, according to police allegations. Tabbara, 35, was charged with 2 counts of assault, 1 count of break and enter, and commit an indictable offense, and 1 count of criminal harassment. The charges were not revealed at the time by Guelph Police Services and did not become public until Friday, after National Post and 2 other media organizations directly asked police about it. I wonder how the media organizations found out about this. This is a big story, not just because of the sitting MP who has not resigned his seat. Like, this is a lawmaker who broke a law. He should resign his seat. That's it. Period. Like, sorry, man, done. And is arrested, like charged and arrested, right? Like, no, that should be a hard no for anybody. He's an independent now, but that was with little fanfare, etc. Where are the Conservatives? Anyway, I digress. The fact that the police also kept this quiet is notable, right? It's a big story in and of itself that is kind of being left behind in how big this story actually is. So back to this. The National Post can now reveal that 2 people are listed as alleged victims of assault, 1 male and 1 female. Both alleged assaults took place in the same place at the same incident, according to the police report. Tabbara is also charged with breaking and entering a home, which is the same address as the home he was allegedly watching near Guelph's downtown, about 90 kilometers west of Toronto. It is not the same address listed as his home. After spending a night in jail, Tabbara was formally charged with 4 criminal counts on April 10th and had a bail hearing overseen by a justice of the peace in London, Ontario, about 120 kilometers southwest of Guelph. He was released on a promise to pay $1,000 if he breached any condition of his release. A publication ban was imposed over the information, arguments, and reasons presented at the bail appearance. Okay, so why the publication ban? Is it not something that the public should know? This guy was stalking somebody for 3 months in Guelph. People should be aware of that. And he's a sitting MP. Why is he being protected? Why wasn't the bail hearing in Guelph? Why wasn't it presided over by a Guelph judge? Why was it in London? That seems like a departure. Could I request a bail hearing in London if I wanted one? Or how about Niagara Falls? Could I say, listen, this isn't going to work for me. Let's go to Niagara Falls, and I've got a buddy there on the bench. All right? What could be the reason? I don't know. Right? And why would they listen to him? That seems weird, right? Hey, I've seen Law and Order. Hey, you perp, right? And they put him in the cell for the overnight, and then the next morning they're not like, which can you check the box which court you'd like your bail hearing to be at? Thanks. We'll let you know if your selection is. Would you like orange juice for your morning breakfast? Anyway, back to this. On Friday, after the criminal charges against him were revealed in the media, he announced he was, quote, stepping back from the Liberal caucus, but not resigning as an MP. Another notable thing. This happened on April 10th. As a sitting MP, would he not be required to tell somebody, the whip or the prime minister or somebody, like, hey, this happened? Would they not be talking about that on April 10th when the charges were filed? Why weren't the charges... When the charges were filed, did that not trigger some kind of... not notification necessarily to the MP's office or anything like that, but in him to say, I need to come forward with this to my bosses or to people who might know, because this is probably going to come out, when the court date comes up and I have to go to court, but maybe not. Maybe he does have a friend on the bench. I don't know. Quote, back to the article, I personally believe strongly in the right of every individual to live a life free, of the hurt and trauma of physical, verbal, or emotional abuse, he said in a written statement. I continue to receive counseling and treatment for anxiety and depression, which I've been living with for some time. I think the anxiety and depression is like the 2020 standard human condition. Like welcome to the club, man. It's called the bar, and everybody goes there at 5. Like, what are you talking about? Back to this. The Prime Minister's office said it did not learn of the charges until Friday and was looking into the matter. Questions. You'd think the Prime Minister's office would have a response to that. Like, if you hear, okay, he was arrested, charged with this, and then you go to him and say, hey, like, what happened here? And he says, oh, yeah. You would think you had a response, right? Maybe they didn't have a chance to talk with him at the time. Maybe he wasn't answering his phone. Who knows? Back to this. His official entry on Parliament Canada website now lists his party affiliation as independent. I scroll down. After his election, he told the Waterloo Region, his local newspaper, the Waterloo Region Record, that before politics, he worked in various jobs, including construction, electrical, roofing, temp work, and as a line supervisor at the Frito-Lay snack plant. Our leadership. Everyone, yeah. He said when he was a young child, he and his family fled Lebanon during the country's civil war and immigrated to Canada. He has a degree in political science from the University of Guelph. Man, what an interesting profile for one of the backbenchers of the Liberal Party, eh? Here's Jagmeet Singh, and the audio is really terrible on this. He is talking about regulating police services to help end racism in Canada, and just his ideas are not very good. You can listen to the recording yourself if you're interested in that. Basically, he wants to reallocate the money to, social programs and whatever. Here's the Toronto City Council. They're putting forward a motion to defund police budget by 10%. And again, the idea is to fund like other social programs, early intervention programs and stuff. But the problem here is, like, I was talking to somebody yesterday on Twitter who said the chief of police makes more than John Tory, and that's not appropriate. And I said, you have to understand the hierarchy. Like, if you're a class 4 or class 1 constable, I can't remember which way it goes, like 4-3-2-1 or 1-2-3-4. The top of the the top tier constables are making like $125,000. And the guy was saying, oh, the chief of police should be paid $150,000. That's it. And it's like, they live in Toronto. They have to live in Toronto. They have to do a very dangerous job. Presumably, you're going to be choosing the chief of police from good police officers. So the police officers have probably been working a while. There's a union in the police, and every year you usually tick up in how much you make. And because the union is a powerful union, they make a lot of money. So if you're trying to recruit a chief and you say, would you like to take a pay cut? And by the way, no overtime. And also, did you see those Black Lives Matter protests? Like, what? Okay, so the problem is the police chief makes $400,000 a year and he's got a $280,000 pension per year for the rest of his life. That's a problem. Okay, fine. Take it up with the economics of the city that is being policed, right? Like, and it's not like there were newspaper articles running last week or last year that were saying police flush with money. Have you seen the new cars and new whatever toys that we've got? That's not the case. We're building police buildings in Guelph anyway, to the tune of like $60 million, and we don't have the money for that. And well, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for anything. We keep raising taxes, and the municipality's been decimated because nobody's been able to purchase any of the revenue streams, right? So we're looking at a tax increase no matter what, pretty much, if we want any of the services that we're used to in the municipalities. So this idea is stupid. What's the plan? Defund municipalities and give it to wraparound facilitators or youth care workers or like mental health people. I have to tell you, that's a bad plan. They have even less training, right? Even less training and an even less high bar for their behavior and their actions. If you think the police were killing people, watch less trained, hot-headed 20-year-olds try and deal with crisis, okay? Because it's not going to work out so well. People don't like chiefs in the field having multiple years of experience and being highly paid. Well, you get what you pay for, right? Like you get what you expect out of the I guess you get what you pay for. Okay, back to the article. 2 Toronto councillors want to defund the city's police force by 10% and use the money for community resources. It sounds reasonable, except that it's completely stupid. Back to this. And you can't, the union's not going to let this happen. Back to this. Council John Matlow said he will bring a motion to the next city council meeting at the end of the month with support from Council Christy Wong-Tam. Matlow said he wants to see the savings, about $122 million, spent on investing in community programs. It's time to defund the police budget and rebalance our use of public funds towards ensuring that our communities are supported in ways that avoid having to have the police show up to the door in the first place. Knowing that people are going to arrest you and hold you accountable is a good deterrent. And knowing that the police are defunded and a wagon with, maybe a ride to the safe injection site is going to show up, or what? I don't know what the plan here is. A hostage negotiator, somebody who's going to come in and negotiate their way out of the problem better than a police. Oh, I can't do anything. You can't come with me. I can't impel you or restrain you in any way. I can't use a weapon or anything to that effect, but I'm here to help and I'm here to de-escalate the situation. What is that going to do if somebody's in a real domestic situation or in a situation where somebody's completely coked out or something else out of their mind on some substance, and you've got the wrong team that comes in? Don't bring police here. We don't want anybody getting hurt. It's like, well, sometimes if you don't have the police willing to put their hands on somebody and stop them, somebody will get hurt, and the somebody who gets hurt is an innocent bystander, right? That's a problem. You can't have that in society. You have to be sure that, one, there are laws, and two, that the laws are equally enforced across the community and across time, right? If you break into my house and take all of my things, you're going to be arrested because I'm going to call the police and say you did this, right? But if I break into your house, the same is going to happen to me. So mutually assured destruction. Nobody's going to break into your house or my house unless nobody has anything to lose. And if the police aren't there to do anything, what's stopping anybody, right? Your gun? Ha ha. Seriously. It is a stupid, short-sighted. And just look at this. What would this woman who is being washed by a member of parliament, this guy's powerful, right? He's the chair of the which one is it? International Human Rights Council? Hold on, I have to find out. Here it is. He's the chair of the subcommittee on international human rights of the Standing Committee of Foreign Affairs and International Development. Without police, Who's going to believe you? Like, come on. He's been doing what? Yeah, okay, I think he's been busy. Sure, he's been here, right? Like, really. And history is dotted with this kind of stuff. So you want to defund the police? You want to replace it with a toothless force of people who are there to help? Come on. How ridiculous. And like, no. Just no. It is a bad idea. It is poorly thought out. And the idea that you can just defund police in an economy like ours and not suffer is short-sighted madness. Like, it's just stupid. Just stupid. And the fact that leaders are even entertaining this, like, there should be an entire group of councillors that come out and denounce this and say, this is the dumbest idea we've ever heard. We're increasing police funding to make sure that our city is safe, and these people need to be voted out by people in their community. Seriously. Okay, here's Adam Vaughn. Adam Vaughn is as woke as you can get for a member of parliament. He loves Justin Trudeau. He is sitting firmly on Justin's coattails. And, well, he really likes his position. He really likes it. He's really involved in it. Here's his tweet about the hypocrisy of our leadership. So Pierre Poilievre says, why don't we all hold massive protests on our favorite restaurant patios? That way, bylaw will leave us all the hell alone. And that was essentially the point I was making. Like, you know, if my kids can play on the playground for Black Lives Matter, right? Like, that's the same thing as you guys doing your Black Lives Matter game out in front of the city hall. And one is condoned and one is not. That's hypocritical, especially if there's a public health emergency. If there's a public health emergency, you shouldn't condone these actions, but they are. Here's Adam Vaughn's, rationalization of his support for the fines and support for the protests. Here we go. The bylaws restricting large groups on patios are public health measures designed to save lives. The demonstrations are being held to save lives. Why does this confuse you, and why aren't you interested in protecting people? You monster. I added the you monster. I mean, really. It's funny, except that it's our leadership. It's not funny, but it's funny. Like, okay. Here's Brian Liley. He gets to ask the Prime Minister a question, and this is the longer question. He had a starting question and a follow-up. He said basically, like, what do you say to people who agree with the protesters, but, you know, they lost 3 months of their lives, 3 months of their salaries, 3 months of their businesses? Like, what do you say to those people? And Justin Trudeau didn't answer the question. And here's another Justin Trudeau not answering the question. I'll move me over so we can see the question that he's dodging for a full 2 minutes. I'm sorry, but we're going to listen to a lot of it. There's a point where you just zone out. So yes, 2 minutes, Justin Trudeau warning. Here we go.
Following up, Brian?
Steps from where you took a knee, though, Prime Minister, there was an Ottawa restaurant allowing customers to eat their pizza socially distanced on a patio. They're facing an $880 fine for violating the same emergency orders that you violated, that many of the people at the protest violated. So can you continue to say that we've got to have these lockdown measures in place when there is obviously a difference of how they are applied between people meeting on their driveways, people eating pizza, and people protesting?
Thank you for your question, Brian. I mean, there's a lot of people wondering about what exactly is the right thing to do, what the coming weeks and months will hold for us. One of the things that we've seen very clearly from other jurisdictions, including places like South Korea and others, where a strong handling of the crisis at the beginning has given way to some resurgences here and there, is that as we loosen some of the population control measures, as people are returning to work in some ways, seeing businesses reopen, we need to step up in other ways. We need to continue socially distancing. We need to wear masks where appropriate. But we also need to make sure that we are stepping up on things like contact tracing and exposure notification and massive testing. There are many more things we need to do. Even as we restart the economy, we need to bring in other measures as well to ensure that we can handle any resurgence. All this is difficult and frustrating and longer than we'd hoped it would be. In many ways. But at the same time, we know that the cost of having to return into social isolation, return into lockdown because of a massive resurgence is not one that anyone wants to bear. which is why we are being very cautious going forward, and we continue to encourage people to follow all public health advice and guidance.
What a long walk to say absolutely nothing. What do you say to the people who got fined for breaking the same rule you did? We all have to double down on social distancing, and we have to really make sure that we're not going to get another resurgence, because that'd be really bad. Next question. What? What kind of answer is that? And it's funny because he dances you away from it. You don't even realize you're listening to complete bullshit until far, far after. He's already moved on to the 2 or 3 questions, and you're like, he didn't answer that question. Like, he didn't say anything that even remotely came close to answering the question. He just danced around it and you just forgot, because that's what humans do. And we're very forgiving. All right, this is the last story for this morning. I had a couple others. There was an anti-racism rally that didn't happen in Alberta because people in the town were angry about it, and they said, like, no, not going to happen, not happening at all. So the newspaper made racist hay out of that. They're like, oh, those Albertans were so racist, they didn't even want the Black Lives Matter protest. No, they were not racist, and they said this is divisive and stupid. I'm saying it's divisive and stupid. And they said no to this rally. And I'm glad they shut it down. Good job. Patty Hajdu'S, another ridiculous. This is offensive. Okay, I'll end on the other one now, but this is offensive. This is offensive. Here's Patty Hajdu being offensive.
Canada, it's joining citizens around the world in fighting the pandemic of racism, which, as you know, also equally has terrible health effects on people's health.
Yes. Right after the coronavirus that shut down your business and kept everyone home for the last 3 months, we're facing a pandemic of racism, everybody, which is also very, very impactful on your health. She said it with a straight face. Offensive. This government is just ridiculous. Okay, last story. John Ivison, federal government seeking exit strategy from CERB through new legislation. I'm just reading this so you understand what's happening with CERB. I think it's a needed change, but wait, it's late. It's very late. Okay. Even the most prodigal of governments, that means freely spending governments, vastly freely spending governments, knows it can't keep spending $3.6 billion a week on the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. CERB was indispensable when it was introduced, providing income for people who had been deprived of their livelihoods by COVID. But as the economy reopens, Ottawa is looking at an exit strategy from a program that has cost $43.5 billion in the past 12 weeks, supporting 8.4 million workers. The first signs of that game plan are evident in legislation the government is currently negotiating with the opposition parties. According to a draft bill seen by National Post, C-17 tightens the eligibility conditions around CERB and makes it a criminal offense to knowingly claim money under false pretenses. Workers will no longer be eligible for income support payments if they fail to return to work when it's reasonable to do so, or if their employer makes a request for their return. Applicants who have declined a reasonable job offer will be deemed ineligible. Each period of eligibility will be shortened by 2 weeks from 4. And the amount a worker can earn without clawback will be reduced to $500 from $1,000. The changes as far as they go are sensible. There is still no requirement to look for work. But the message is clear. Anyone who can work and is able to find a job should do so. Nearly 1/3 of the workforce earns minimum wage levels under $15 an hour, which is less than CERB offers. The hope was that many people would return to work by transitioning to the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy Program, where Ottawa picks up the tab for 75% of the wages, up to $847 per employee per week. That has not happened so far. CERB has proven a safe place to ride out the storm for many workers. The problem is that many workers claiming CERB may find that their jobs are no longer available for them, or once the lockdown has lifted. It puts the government on the horns of a dilemma. And then they speculate, the rest of the article is just speculating on how they could possibly get through the dilemma without too much bad negative fallout. But fundamentally, this is stuff that should have been in place initially, right? But hindsight's 2020. It's too little, too late, right? The cat's out of the bag. They've spent the money, and now they're just reining in the last remaining. No, don't do that now. So what are you gonna do? And what are you going to do, right? Elections have consequences, and Justin Trudeau being at the helm during this crisis has been very, very expensive for Canada. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, and check out SpeakingMoistly.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.